Bear with me, guys. I'm just trying to. There's a bit of technicals over here. Just waiting for Caillou to come in. Hi, Carlos. So we're actually streaming on two today. We're on Facebook and we're on YouTube. Hi, Charles. How you doing? I'm just waiting for Caillou to come in. Hi, Carlos. Hi, Susan. Let me see where she is. Bear with me while we get this together. Hi, Jasmine. How's everyone doing today? How's your Monday going? I know Monday can sometimes be a bit of a blues of the week. You know, no one looks forward to Monday. But how is your Monday going? Where is she? Okay, Kaisha's in now. Let's see if I can bring her in. Why can I not bring you on camera? Okay, here we go. Okay.
Hey.
Hi. I don't know what's going on today. All technicals decided to just go haywire just before I was about to go live. That's why I was a little bit late.
That's all right. We already
But
know
how
how
are
the
you doing,
technical stuff
girl?
goes. Going good, babes. Going good. Seems like this
Okay.
crazy weather is messing up with all the technicalities today.
Yeah. And I just realized something really, really silly, which is you're not on my YouTube because I haven't sent you the link. So we're gonna
And
probably have to come off YouTube and then re-upload later.
okay.
So, okay, so I'm gonna come off this stream here. Sorry, guys, we're still trying to get it together. We're still newbies in the game, okay? So
We
just bear with
are, we
us.
are. Bear
That will
with
go on
us.
the stream later. Can you imagine? Imagine all of this.
I
But
know all
it's
the
all
back
good.
and forth. It's the
I know,
universe telling us it's
right?
happening, babe.
But yeah, guys, I just want to say welcome to our live today. So this is Kaisha. Obviously,
Hi.
I'm my trail for those who are on this stream who may not know who I am, because we've got two audiences going on at the moment. So, hi, Dayla. I know. The YouTube, it will be on YouTube later. We just trying to get all these little hiccups together. I was thinking, okay, if I have her on Facebook, she'll be on my YouTube, but I haven't actually sent her a link to be on YouTube. So yeah, a bit, doughboy today.
It's all
But
right.
yeah, as I was saying, this live today is gonna be about dealing with bereavement and dealing with emotional trauma. So
Yeah.
Kaisha herself. Kaisha is a celebrant, so she also can officiate funerals. So let me let you kind of speak about yourself. You can speak about yourself a bit better. So you can kind of bring in your job role and why we're even talking about this today.
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, I'm Kaisha. My business is Cherished by Kai. So I am a celebrant, which is basically a alternative to a minister or a registrar. So I officiate and write and create ceremonies. So that can be naming ceremonies, which is like an alternative to like a christening. It could be funerals, memorials, or weddings, So there's a beauty in that. And I also do memorabilia. So I make keep wearable keepsakes out of people's lost loved ones' clothing. So Yes, that's basically what I do. Obviously, how I know lovely Maya Treya is by doing a ceremony for her and her son. So, yeah, we kind of got speaking through that. And today we kind of brought us to this new topic as I've been going through my own kind of bereavement. I've just gone through the 1 year anniversary of my granddad's passing. So I had to go through that on Saturday. It has been a very difficult transition. You know, the first year, obviously, my background is also as a funeral arranger, so I'm not new to the deaf world. You know, I lived it, I worked in it, but definitely when it's personal, you can't. There's no hiding from that. You know, the effects of it is crazy, and you can't predict it. You're just kind of going through the motions. Yeah, so this is what kind of led to us having this conversation, talking about loss, and a lot of people have really resonated with a few of the posts that I've put up about how, you know, we kind of shy away from dealing with that process, and kind of just speaking my truth and being openly vulnerable with what I'm going through. So, you know, me and you kind of got speaking about it, and you told me some of your experiences, and we felt like it was something that needed to be brought on a more open spectrum where people will be able to kind of, you know, sometimes it's good to hear other people's perspective, hear other people's experience. Sometimes we don't find the openness to speak about our own things. So hearing somebody else's is an opportunity to learn, hear, and maybe also be able to have that willingness to speak their own truth. So, you know, we are the people of today.
Yeah. I mean, I want to ask you about the whole kind of funeral arranging thing or working as a funeral arranger because, like, I remember just watching, if anyone, I know, I'm a Housewives binge, Housewives of Atlanta. So if anyone knows about
Miss
Phaedra Park
Phaedra.
from
Yes.
that's up when I had saw her talking about how she's a funeral arranger and stuff. I was just like, black people do those things. Like, black people actually want to be dealing with dead people. Like, that's quite interesting. Like, I was like really intrigued by that, and I
Yeah.
was like, I was just intrigued by what would, you know, like encourage or drive someone to want to kind of go into such an abstract world like that initially.
Yeah, me. I originally didn't even go into it. If it found me, I was actually
Mm.
trying to find a celebrant position, and it kind of led me into this new light. I showed up to a job interview. They threw the job description in front of me, and you know, it's one of those things where you start in a job and you go, okay, you know what, I want this. Start the interview, and you're like, and you end it, and you're like, I need this job. I needed something. I needed a change that kind of spoke with the passionate person that I am. I came from a corporate world where it was very like robotic. You didn't have much personality. And I needed something where I was able to impact people's lives. And the more and more I found out about funeral arranging was the more I felt like, you know, especially people of our culture needs to be in those kind of places. And yeah, I really wanted to do it. When I first heard about it, I was very much like a lot of black people would be. I was like, I'm gonna show up with my salt, be dashing salt everywhere. But you know what? It's the most rewarding job ever.
Mm.
Like it really was beautiful to be in. It's not as morbid as people seem to think. You're able to actually help people at the time of their life when they feel like it's ended. They don't know where the next step will be. They can't plan for the future. Everything they planned is now stopped in their tracks. You know,
Mm.
they sometimes they have family members that they don't even want to talk to. They don't talk to anymore. And they have to now face them and be in the same environment with them and having to deal with those kind of like breakdowns of family environments and stuff like that. You know, it's a very layered job position. It's really emotionally challenging. You really find out a lot about yourself. I certainly did about myself. It's a whole different perspective of life. You definitely learn the importance of life a lot more. My first day going into work, there was already a deceased coming out. So, you know, that was the day to say, you know, whether I was going to go back or not. But I felt the need to. You know, I felt the need to, and this is a reality. You know, we don't really think about it until there's a funeral or something like that. We don't think of anyone passing away, but it's a reality check that we all need. We could all end up
Mm,
there. We will all end up there.
yeah,
So, that's it.
definitely. And I remember you saying, because me and Kaisha actually met initially through the Princess Trust. So we was working
Yeah.
together. So, sorry, we was going through a course together. And I remember kind of speaking to you about like what you do, and you were saying that at that time you wasn't really doing funeral stuff anymore
Now,
simply because of the transition that you'd gone through. So just like you to speak about that a little bit.
yeah. So I was doing the funeral arranging. My granddad was getting ill. So he had dementia. I'm not sure if anyone really knows what dementia is, but
Mm.
it's basically like the breakdown of your mental health, your mental state of mind. So some people, um, have short-term memory. Some people have long-term memory. So my granddad kind of remembered things from when he was in Jamaica, all 30 years down the road. Everyone that he saw, he was relating back to someone who he grew up with, and you having to kind of reintroduce yourself to the person that's known you all your life every other day. So his short-term memory was basically gone. You give him a drink now, and then 2 minutes later, he would cuss you out about where's his Guinness. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, having to go through that transition whilst working as a funeral arranger was one of the hardest things. People seem to think that, just because you work in it, that you automatically are kind of like cold to the personal experience that you have with it. And it's the latter. You kind of are robotic in the moment because you have to get stuff done. The information that, your family need. But as he started to deteriorate, it became harder and harder for me to go to work. I was seeing families come in that looked like my family. I was seeing, granddads come in who looked like my granddad. So it's like, and I knew that my granddad was terminal. So it was like, I know that this is coming up. And it was just too much. It was too much, me having to be able to do both of them. I didn't actually stop working there until after the funeral. So I continued
Mm.
to work there during the whole process. But it was once the funeral was over where I kind of hit the wall. That was when everything really just came in 100%, and it was my time to grieve, basically.
Yeah,
And
like
I
what
just
was
went
that
through it.
kind of conflict between just being a funeral arranger but being someone who's actually grieving a close family member at the same time?
Um, it wasn't it wasn't necessarily like a conflict. I think it was more so like, because you have colleagues that are used to death, so when they know
Mm.
you're going through it, they're like, oh, and everyone wants to ask you how they doing, or and then once he passed away, okay, so so what's the plans for the funeral? When it's just a part of life, and you just got to be strong and all of these other things. It's like, okay, I'm already kind of just going through it at this moment in time. Okay, I
Mm.
have to be strong. I know that. And especially, we all can resonate with, in the Black community, that level of, it's all right, you just have to be strong. And, know
Mm.
everything is everything. And, it's
Christ
gone
is
to a better
also
place.
happening.
And, do you know
Hmm.
what I mean? There's all of these kind of like washed over terminologies to kind of like mute your suffering and mute your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like, for me, it was the fact that I had to stop. I had to put me first. And that's really
Mm.
where when it came to it. I had to be able to say to myself, Kaisha, you are going to break. You are
Mm.
in the process of breaking. I couldn't
Mm.
keep it together. I was going to, before I had to go to work, I was crying my eyes out, and then
Mm.
still having to smile with families and try and make them
Mm.
feel as, happy as they can be during those emotional moments. And it was just too much. I wanted
Mm.
to be the best for them. And I knew
Mm.
that I couldn't even be the best for myself. So in order
Mm.
for me to make sure that I could be as honest as possible, I had to take a step back and I had to leave. And
Mm.
it actually led me to pursuing my celebrancy. So, just before my granddad passed, I had completed my celebrancy course. And, I went through that really.
Mm. I hear
It was
that.
difficult.
So I wanted to bring up something as well because where you're speaking about that just how we can desensitize ourselves to our pain, I feel like it's just a very, very common trait that we have in our community where it's like, and even just not even just in our community, I'm seeing it become a negative kind of trait across the board, especially in spiritual communities, or those that are really high on self-development and positive, this whole positive energy thing. Okay, not everything is positive, some things is negative, and it's not bad. It's positive and negative is just another side of a polarity that we need to experience. But I feel
Mm.
like there's this whole thing of, yeah, not really allowing ourselves to own our truths and own our pain and own how we're actually feeling. I was speaking last time about our lack of emotional intelligence, being able to even decipher what these emotions actually are, and not having it all muddled in one thing, and we're not actually able to deal with it effectively. So
Mm.
I really want to touch on that in itself, because I think it's really, really, really a deep thing that we're experiencing. So, like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it makes you feel guilty. Like that's where kind of
Sorry, let me
like
just say
guilt
one more
comes
thing,
into
because
it.
I know that, because obviously you would have been in families as well,
Yeah.
like being able to, especially black families, because black families, we don't deal with things
Yeah.
effectively. So, like, like with your experiences of what you've seen, and even with your own experience, like how do you kind of see that?
How do I see?
Just that whole situation of just this desensitization.
Um, You know what? In a funeral arrangers, you can always tell who's the focal person. We, as a funeral arranger, you work with the client. That's the person who came in and said, I want to plan
Mm-hmm.
dad's, mum, sister's funeral. That's who we focus our attention on. But you can definitely see where the breakdowns happen, where, the most headstrong, the most focal person comes in and says, well, no, I want this. Or you get the phone calls from family members saying, I want XYZ. And people being dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that you watch the silence, you watch someone being silenced, and it's kind of having to play. You have to bring people back together, and you have to do it in as much of a sensitive way as possible, because
Mm-hmm.
people deal with grief differently. There's not one size fits all for dealing with grief. Everyone's at their different stages. Everyone processes grief differently. Some people have a very delayed approach to it. It hasn't even hit them yet. They're just there doing the paperwork, so they might seem like they're cold, but it just hasn't hit them yet. Then you find
Mm-hmm.
they usually on the day of the funeral, they're probably the ones that are really breaking down the most, and it kind of flips on the other side. It's kind of being able to be open to the levels of grief and be able to move forward in a constructive way. You're trying to help them as much as possible. You're trying to make them aware of what's happening
Mm-hmm.
as as sensitively as possible, because even though they know that person has passed away, the realization still doesn't quite set in when they sit there in front of you and they say to you, I want to plan dad's funeral, and they say, we got to ask certain questions, how did he pass, or what happened, and all of these kind of things make you relive the moments that
Mm-hmm.
you maybe wasn't even ready to do. Then you have
Yeah.
like, oh no, dad didn't need that, oh no, dad didn't want that, and you
Mm-hmm.
kind of think to yourself, like, it's interesting to see, like, which person actually knew them most, which person actually is the voice of reason, and which people are being silenced, and how many people are really just being told, okay, you know what, don't worry about it, your feelings don't
Mm-hmm.
really matter, we just got to go and deal with the funeral, and once it's over we don't have to talk to each other again, we don't have to do this again, and it's just like someone's passed away.
Mm-hmm.
That's a life. And regardless of any of our feelings, that person had their own life, and they will have to be buried or cremated or any of the stuff that's going to happen to them. And this is the time of their life that we're going to have to help with. And with me dealing with it from a personal level, family can be difficult. You've got many different characters, and having to deal with them, you kind of can go through the levels of guilt where you feel like you can't express the pain that you're feeling. Like for me, I felt that quite a lot because I was helping dealing with a lot of the proceedings with my granddad's funeral. So
Mm,
if I felt emotional during that time, I felt quite guilty to feel that way, you know? I
mm,
felt like I shouldn't be. You know, I shouldn't, I should be able to protect my mom, or I should be able to, you know, be the helping hand. And, you know, so I kind of suppressed all the pain that I had and all the hurt that I had so that I was
mm,
able to be functional to help everybody else. And I feel like,
mm.
especially watching families do that, a lot of people do that during these times, you know. And again, there's many stages to grief, so it depends on where they are.
Mm. Definitely. I mean, like I have my own kind of experiences of grief in itself, and just talking about different stages of grief, there's also different types of grief. Like grief doesn't always hit you initially. You know,
Mm.
sometimes you can actually go through a delayed grieving experience, which is something that I've been going through myself. Um, where so my godmother had passed away when I was 7, but
Mm.
I grew up in a family that so my mum is not afraid of death at all. She would probably be a funeral arranger in a heartbeat. That's just the type of person she is. But with her being like that, it also exposed me to a lot of funerals from a young age. And I feel
Mm.
like that was quite I didn't think that was a good thing in itself, because I feel like that actually created this space which allowed me to be desensitized to death and not actually
Yeah.
realize that I was actually feeling anything. So I had a lot of family members also pass away. Um, but this happened after my godmother had passed. So I don't know if I said my godmother passed away when I was 7. So
Right.
from about the age of like 10 upwards, I was having family member pass away like year after year. And it was very traumatic because I had to be in it was always a life support situation. It was always the life
Oh,
support
wow.
getting switched off in a week. Um and me having to be there and living through that experience of them passing away. And I had to go through that so many times. And I remember the last time that happened with a family member, I actually cracked for the first time and I actually cried.
Mm.
And another thing as well is that because I'm the singer of my family, I'm the one that always has to sing at the funeral. So
Mm.
I'm the one who has to always mask my feelings in how I'm feeling. I can't cry because I need to make sure that I can sing or whatever. But it created this negative relationship to me being able to own my own emotions and even be true in my own emotions. But I found that I always knew that my godmother's passing did affect me, but I didn't realize how much it did until 2 years ago, which was when I this is another life that we have to do, going into like my whole pre-pregnancy experience, because this is all tied in. But my
All right.
godmother was my godmother wasn't just a godmother to me. She was literally my best friend. She was literally, I looked at her like she was my mother. That's the relationship I had with her. And so
Mm.
when before I was about to conceive my child, I found myself connecting to her around that time. Um, and like really strongly, I was just getting this really motherly energy. And because I don't really have a very strong relationship with my own mother, this
Mm.
almost astral relationship was like really comforting to me, because it's something that I never really experienced before. So
Right.
like I found myself like just getting into a place. I was like, okay, I know this is grief. How do I deal with it? I need to connect. So I came into a place where, okay, so this is what I want to bring up. We have a negative perception to death, um because we've grown up in a very Western kind of place where, someone dies and that's it.
Yeah.
But I had to come to a place where I had to realize that me, like, you know, when someone passes and you can almost be very angry at the fact that they pass, okay, you understand like you're going to be hurt, this is someone you loved. But I often
Mm.
feel like um we can be very possessive of each other and just this 3D reality. We can only get, sometimes we get trapped on this 3D existence. And, you know, like even Einstein says himself, energy never dies. E = mc
Yeah.
squared. So when someone
Mm.
is able to transition, that's all they're doing. They're transitioning into another form. Their
Yeah.
physical body is no longer here in the 3D, but they've gone on to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever D that they're on
Mm.
right now. And
Mm.
you know, it doesn't mean to say that the connection between you and that person is cut off. I found that um I found, especially in the last few years, that anytime someone very close to me had passed away, I developed a deeper relationship with them once they passed, because I understood,
Yeah.
okay, energy never dies. I can actually still communicate with you. I can still, what I do, I love to write, and you always hear me talking about channel
Mm.
writing or automatic writing or free writing. And that's something that really helps me in my own grieving phase of dealing with my godmother, just writing letters to her, like, and
Mm.
allowing her to even speak to me and writing her response. That
Mm.
became so empowering for me in that journey. And it helped me to almost heal that aspect of myself. So I didn't actually,
Mm.
like, I'm like, okay, you're not in 3D, but you're still here. I can still experience you. Like, I don't have to limit you. You don't have to be in a
Mm.
box. Do you get what I
Mm.
mean? So I feel like that was my experience with or that has and is my experience with grief, because obviously I'm still dealing with that now, but as I said,
Yeah.
I'm just finding different ways to be able to deal with that. So,
Mm.
you know, like for you, Kaisha, like this whole um anniversaries kind of come up for you again right
Mm.
now. So like, I mean, how are you kind of dealing with this right now?
Taking each day as it comes, honey. Like I'm not even here to even pretend that I know. I really don't. I'm taking each day as it comes, and whatever the day brings, I will try my best to get through the days. I've kind
Mm,
of I've gone through many of the steps. Obviously, like, you know, you go through the first points of when you find out that someone's passed away and you go through the denial process, and then, you know, you get a bit angry when the realization sets in, and then, you know, you go through the depression stage. And for me, that stage can kind of fluctuate. You know, when you're dealing with that passing, it's like people expect that you go through a phase not too long after the funeral or during that process, and then everyone expects you to just go back to life like it's normal because you
mm,
know that's happened now. You know, why is it still bothering you? Like, what is it? And
yeah,
you know, going back to the whole, you know, not being sensitive about the fact that this is psychological. Do you know what I mean? It's your heart, it's your love, it's someone that you care about. So it never ends. The pain that you feel will be consistent. You just learn how to deal with it. You know, you learn how to come to terms what's happened. And I think, like, you know, when we're talking about energy, we're talking about, you know, their spirit and their vibrations that you're able to connect with after death. But what we tend to connect to, which comes to the bereavement phase, is more about the trauma that we felt during that death. So
mm,
it's if for me, you know, it was dealing with the dementia. So before granddad even passed, um, I was watching him pass away basically every other day. You know, every other day I lost him, and another day I would find him again, and he would know who I was. And then there was physical things where I knew, you know, he was going. So then when it actually happened, it was like, wow, okay, this is where I'm at. So I had to find my own medium to figure out how to go through that. I started counseling. So counseling for me was what I needed, you know, and that's
mhm,
something I needed wow, people say like to go and do bereavement counseling. I didn't do bereavement counseling.
Mm.
I had to identify for myself how I cope with emotional trauma. And I knew for
Mm.
myself how I deal with emotional trauma is I tend to kind of seclude myself. I tend to either bury myself in something to kind of keep my mind away from it or distract
Mm.
myself. You know, this is what I do. I bury myself in everything, or I try and keep myself away from everyone. And I became very aware of myself, and I knew that my depression was terrible. Like another, it's funny because even coming on this live today, I had a decision before I came on here, and that was to put on makeup or to not put on makeup to get on
Yeah,
this
me
live.
too.
Right? So, and the reason, let me tell you about the reason why it's relevant, right? Because when I lost my granddad, yeah, I didn't wear makeup for a while, right? And
Mm.
I barely slept, and my eyes got so dark it looked like I had been thumped in both eyes. Like I was
Mm.
walking like a zombie, right? So I
Mm.
couldn't even leave my house without makeup. I couldn't make eye contact, and I'm the type of person that when I look at you I stare you in your eyes. Like I'm all about eye contact.
Yeah.
I couldn't look you in your face. I
Mm.
literally withdrew into myself. It was like I couldn't really identify myself. I had suppressed so much that once the funeral was over, it was like I had to then face everything. And it wasn't just dealing with my granddad, it opened Pandora's box. Like I literally felt everything, every single thing that I had suppressed in my life ended up basically coming to full force in front of me. And I
Mm.
did not know how I was going to deal with that. I'm not really the one to be big on talking too much. I kind of am the person that people talk to. So I didn't have that opening to really be able to talk. I have beautiful friends, amazing people around me. And I'm thankful for my own progress in how I've learned to kind of be a bit more open with my own vulnerability. But with that, I knew I needed a counselor. I knew I needed
Mm.
someone else that wasn't directly connected to me, that I'll be able to kind of understand the stuff that's happened, because I knew it went beyond just losing my granddad. The work was with me. I had to
Mm.
find out how I can get myself out of this moment. I needed to deal with the emotional traumas I had pretended were no longer there. I had to deal with all of it because everything can face. And we seem to think that when people go through bereavement, that they're only mourning the loss. It's the loss of self. It's the loss of family members that they're no longer in communication with. There's a lot of people that we no longer talk to, but we have to be faced with, and we have reminders of, you know, past traumatic experiences we've had with friends and family, and they all get brought up all at one time because we're exposed. We can't just kind
Mm.
of lay them, we can't just put them to the side like we can on a normal day and just let it brush over us. Everything hits us. We're just like an open
Mm.
wound. Everything
Mm.
is salt is getting poured in it all the time. So for
Mm.
me, counseling was imperative. I had to come back to find myself, and to find myself, I had to find my child self, because during that bereavement, my
Oh.
child self was the one that was there. It wasn't
Mm.
Kaisha, grown Kaisha, that's gone through the journeys of lowing self and getting the understanding.
Mm.
It was child Kaisha who needed to be held. It was child Kaisha who's still trying to identify life, still trying to understand what's going on, you know, still trying to piece things together. And it's the child Kaisha who actually doesn't know how to speak out and feels vulnerable all the time and doesn't know what's the right things to say. And I needed to face that child. I needed to figure out what kind of things I needed to face so that I'm able to move forward. So then when it comes to dealing with granddad and whatever else is to come, I'm able to come and deal with it with an open mind and with a level head. And I needed to identify
Mm.
that it was me. You know, I
Mm.
needed that a lot of that growth that I needed to make, a lot of the healing I needed to go through was
Mm.
past, way past losing my granddad. You know, I had gone
Yeah.
through, you know, abuse, and
Mm.
I had that really spilled its open face, you know, when
Mm.
I was going through my bereavement. So I had to actually realize that I was going through PTSD whilst dealing with the brinks of being bereaved, you know. And you know, when you're someone that doesn't really talk about things and don't really expose yourself, it's the most
Mm.
vulnerable place to be in, you know. But
Yeah, I think what you just brought up there as well, because you're talking about the other kind of traumas that are behind, and I think
yeah.
one of um, the biggest kind of traumas that come up in that is abandonment and
Yeah.
what's the other one that came up for me? Rejection, because you almost
Mm,
feel like this person has abandoned you. So that's almost like the anger that you deflect
yeah.
onto the person that's left you. Like, why did you leave me? Why did you have to leave me in this situation? Like, you
Yeah.
know, you almost feel like the rejection and all these types of things. So these are the traumas that um grief can bring up, but it, like you said, it has it had seeds, it has roots from before all of that kind of stuff. So it's necessary to ensure that you go counseling. And even the counseling thing, let me touch on that, because we don't like to talk to people. We don't like to be vulnerable. We don't like to express. We don't like to own. We don't like to, or don't like to own this type of stuff. We like to own, you know, the prideful stuff and the ego stuff. But when it comes to
Mm,
our pain, we don't like to own that. And like, I really, really, really encourage anyone who's actually gone through any type of grief or any type of emotional trauma, whether you've gone through sexual abuse, whether you've, you know, you have other traumas, whether it's, you know, not being able to see your children or whatever. I was speaking
mm,
a young guy a few days, was it on Saturday, where I was performing, and he was speaking about even him himself. He's not um he was a teacher, and he had to actually just be like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't see my children, so I can't work as a teacher. Like, I need to
mm.
go counseling. Like, I need help. Like, there's no way that I can accept this pain that I'm feeling, going to work, acting like everything's okay. And you know what? I had to salute him, you know, because how many men at that actually go forth and actually say, "Do you know what? I'm gonna go speak to someone."
Yeah.
You know, how many women actually go and say, do you know what? I'm going to go and actually speak to someone. I need
Mm,
help. Why is
yeah.
it that those three words, I need help, why is that the hardest words for us to be able to say as a people?
Because we've been taught to be strong. That's why.
And you know what? That's the biggest demon. That's the demon that I'm trying to crush within myself. This demon of
Mm,
wanting to feel like I have to be superwoman all the time. Like,
mm,
you know, like even this weekend I had a struggle. Like, this weekend was my birthday, and sometimes you can feel very, you know, like, for me, I look at everything very deeply. So, you know, people talk about birthdays and they don't actually realize this is actually another year that's been added onto your life. You know, this is
yeah.
something that's a value that you've gained. It's not just another day. Like, it's actually,
Yeah.
you know, it is something to celebrate because many people hasn't made it. So
Mm,
it's like I found my I got into a really, really kind of dark place and whatever, and I found it hard to even say, do you know what, I'm not feeling good today. Whilst everyone was saying happy birthday, da 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 da, I found it hard to be like, I don't feel good today, and actually scream it
mm, mm.
from my diaphragm and be like, no, this is my truth. You
Yeah.
know, because you're always thinking, okay, is someone gonna say, you know, oh, look, she's attention seeking or something, just overly emotional, whatever. And you know what,
Mm,
we have to be accountable for how we treat each other in how we
yeah.
share our truth, because this
Yeah.
is why many people don't come out and be like, actually, do you know what, I'm gonna be real. Because what happens when they be real? Look how many
Mm,
people get ridiculed on social media from being able to speak their truth. You know, they
yeah.
say something and then someone wants to be like, oh, you know, like, I've seen so many people say that they've been suicidal on Facebook, you know, whether it be a status or whatever. And granted, yeah, some things, you know, may not may not be the best place to be on Facebook, but if someone's actually taken a chance to be able to express themselves, bun all this political correctness. If someone needs help, like, be there,
Yeah.
like, be
Yeah.
available. Like,
Yeah.
we're so accustomed to not being available, even in our own personal circuits. Social media has become like such an illusion for us to where, like, right now we're on live. We have a few people on in joining in the conversation. However, we have people that are in our everyday lives, in our personal lives. How many of us actually take time out to ask them, are they actually okay? Like, how you feeling?
Mhm.
Like, like take time to really have a heart-to-heart connection. We've become
Yeah.
so desensitized on this social media, thinking, sending a message or seeing someone post a pic means that they're okay, means that they're
Mm.
alive. You don't know the
Mhm.
struggles that that person had to go through that week.
Yeah.
Like let's really, really take time to come back in and integrate into our humanity. We've been separated from our humanity. We're literally becoming computers. We have
Mm.
no compassion for each other anymore. That's what's
Mm.
not allowing us to be able to heal. Because if we don't
Mm.
have the environment and the support network for us to be able to heal, how is it meant to happen realistically?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's many levels to that though. I feel that you have society who kind of like use your silence as a crutch. They're able to continue on with life because you haven't exposed that there's an issue or that you need help. So you're cool. But then there's a side of it of also of us being able to take accountability for ourselves as well and being able to go, you know what, I'm not good. And
Mm,
whatever anyone else has to say about it, I feel them business that. Because at the end of the day, you have to own yourself and know what your limitations are, how far you can go. We can have a whole network around us. And I say this especially for my own self. There's been so
mm,
many times I said I'm fine. And
mm,
inside I am screaming,
mm,
right? And I'm saying I need help. Like I
mm,
just need someone, but I cannot bring myself to
mm,
say I need it,
mm,
right? And it's that fear of someone not being able to help. It's that fear of
mm.
being vulnerable. It's just the fear of self, really having to put that power into somebody else's hands. And at the end of the day, not everyone is actually there for you. Do you know what I mean? Not everyone you talk to is for you. Not everyone wants your best, has your best interest in heart at heart. Some people just want to carry the information that you tell them and go and bring it to somebody else. But you know
Mm,
what? You got to find the medium that's for you. Whether that's
mm,
you writing it down in your journal. I've seen like a few people talking about writing stuff down, writing that down, whether that's going to a counselor, whether that's singing, whatever you decide your medium needs to be, find it, utilize it. If you need to
mm,
reach out to your friends, you know who your real ones are, hopefully. So then you'll be able to go and speak to your friends and say, you know what, babe, I'm not doing too good today, right? And I
mm.
think it goes on both sides of it is because when people are used to you being so strong all the time, sometimes the reactions are, oh babes, don't worry, you got
Oh,
this,
that'd be
man, you
okay.
got
It's all
this,
right. It's just a little
like you got
phase.
this. And it's like, I know for me, even for me to say I need your help, I'd be like, I'll say it just like this. You know what? I've been going through my own self-assessment, so strong, well put together, and then it
Mm,
sounds so strong and well put together, where it's like, okay, then no man, you got this. You're just gonna bounce back, and then the next day I'm in pieces. They're like, wait, what happened?
mm,
Like, you were
mm,
fine yesterday, but yesterday I wasn't fine. Do you know what I mean? I just
mm,
don't know how to relay things in a way that a lot of other people do. I'm used to being that strong person. I'm used to
mm,
having that. And it's like being trapped by these, words that we place on people, being strong. And what does strong even
mm,
look like?
mm,
Actually the strength in and be able to be looking at myself and go, you know what? There's strength in actually letting go, letting
exactly.
go
Mm,
of the magnitude of the weight it puts on your shoulders to suppress pain. You can't
mm,
even put anything on it. You can't do it. You start
mm,
to literally deteriorate. You don't even
mm,
notice. You see people walking down the street looking crazy.
mm.
Like this is years and years of suppression, acting like they're strong all the time because people told them they're cool, until the next time they have an emotional break. Next
You
minute,
talk,
it's their
uh,
funeral.
talking about that, and I've spoken about this many times. There's people that will end up having there's a lot of conditions that are coming up like fibromyalgia, chronic pain, like all these conditions that don't make no sense. It's not an actual diagnosis. These are conditions that have been created through trapped trauma, through suppressed trauma. If you think about it, if you experience an emotion, say a harsh emotion like anger or rage, you feel that feeling. That feeling, you will feel it in your body. Yeah, that's energy in your body. Now, if it's not being channeled, where is that energy going? It now creates illnesses. It's created an imbalance in that field, and you need to take time to be able to remove that out of your field and bring health back to your body. Like, we make ourselves sick
Literally.
without you see, like a lot of the older generation as well. A lot of the older generations, things like cancer, things like diabetes, all these different conditions, they are created through stress. They are created through um, 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 trauma that has not been addressed, because that's where we learned a lot of this from. We look at our parents. How many times have I heard? I've heard some really, really, really disturbing stuff from the older generation. Someone comes in. I've seen this with my very own eyes. Someone came in. Oh, where have you been? I haven't seen this person for a while. And then the other person turns back. Oh, what do you mean depression? Like this. Well, they're religious, so they'll be like, oh, if you say you have depression, Jesus doesn't. That means that Jesus doesn't exist. That, okay, of course, that's their belief system, but just the whole mentality around that, of just not even being able, someone has actually taken the strength to affirm, actually, this is what I'm struggling with. And then you want to now not even acknowledge that that's what they're even dealing with. These masks that we like to play on ourselves, we learned that from the last generation, but it's down to us to make the choice now, because just because it's been passed down doesn't mean to say that it needs to stay here. We have a choice to be able to eradicate these things out of our DNA. And I made a conscious choice for myself to be able to do that before I even gave birth to my child. That's why he was able to come into my field and me be able to like have him at that time, because I was like, no, I'm not having this. And it's not to say that everything is gone. I'm still dealing with things now, but I made the choice that it's not, this ends here. This ends here. Like, I'm not allowing this to be a continual cycle. I myself have physical conditions. I've managed to get myself to a place, because I was paralyzed back in 2012. I was in a wheelchair. Those who know me that long, they know the struggle that I've had to go through with my health. Here I'm in a place where I can walk. I may be in pain, a lot of pain, but I can walk. Like, that in itself, like, is a massive progress to where I was before, taking 22 tablets a day. I don't take no tablets at all no more. The only thing I take is just, natural things when I need to take them. And that in itself is a massive, like, progress. But it's taken steps for me to get there, because I was like, nah, I'm not doing this no more. So really take time to really evaluate, like, because a lot of the time we like to make our trauma comfortable. We like to make our pain comfortable. Pain has become so comfortable for us. Like, stop trying to make it more comfortable. Actually step outside of your comfort zone and make a conscious decision to, like, you came to this earth not to continually experience pain. Like, choose to experience life, like, you came here to experience life. You didn't come here to experience death. So do you have anything to say about that before we kind of go into our little conclusions?
No, I 100% agree with what you've said so far, Sorry, I've been reading through some of these comments, and I think that's
I
what,
know I need to
Jasmine?
come back through them again,
Jasmine,
guys.
how many
I'll break
times does it take to say I'm fine for it to become the biggest lie? Girl, I have said that so many times. It wasn't until I felt like it was going to be the last time, literally, in life, even saying it was causing me pain, right? So I had to learn that. I had to learn to open up my mouth and say to my people, you know what, I'm not fine, But then also when we spoke about comfortability and being comfortable in your pain, it's then okay, I'm not fine. Now what are you gonna do about it? Right?
Mm,
So I have to look at myself and go, okay, Kaisha, how am I going to get through this? Now that I've opened myself to that and I've said I'm not okay, and I know that I have an uncomfortability about putting that power into somebody else's hands, how can I make sure that I'm okay? You know,
mm,
am I open to be able to find resolution? Am I open to be able to heal myself? Am I open to even get help? You know,
mm,
sometimes people say to people like, oh, you know, I'm sad today. And sometimes it is that they just want other people to know that they're sad today. And
mm.
it's not actually because they want to do anything about them. They're still waiting for someone to
Mm,
save them,
mm,
and they're still
yeah.
waiting for somebody else to take that from them, go take, you know. And the thing is that we don't know, and I've seen this in the comments, somebody else has mentioned about how do we go about helping people. You know, we don't always know what the other person is going through. And I know,
Mm,
like, for myself, I was consistently thinking about, oh, you know, burdening other people with my problems, right? But we need to be able to have an openness both ways. If
mm,
I'm talking to you and you have a problem and you're dealing with something, you need to be like, Kaisha, babes, I love you. I will listen to you, but I'm actually going through something myself as well. Like, and we don't do that. I know I haven't done, I've done this
yeah.
myself where I literally, someone's gone to, and I'm I'm going through my stuff, and someone sent me a message, and I feel like the world's just gone on my shoulders. How can I
Yeah.
help this person? What am I gonna do? I can't even get my brain together today. So I might wait a couple of days and message them and be like, oh, babe, I got your message when
Do you know
I
what?
feel a
I'm
bit
gonna
more
call
right. But
out
I
my
wasn't
girl.
honest.
I'm gonna
You know
call
what I
out
mean?
Els on this, yeah, because she's on this live. I can see her.
How is
But
it?
do you know what? One reason why I appreciate this woman, oh my gosh, that's what we do. Like she's the only person that I can call and be like, okay, have you got brain capacity? Like
You know,
and
right.
and you know, like can actually like release and you know, like actually
Yeah.
do like we don't do that. We
Yeah.
have an expectation that you know we always have capacity for that person at that time, and that's
Hmm.
not possible because we're
Mm.
not martyrs out here.
Yeah.
We all are going, everyone is going through their own level of journey of healing, but what you just mentioned, that's something that needs to be highlighted. Like please be mindful, it's especially because I it's always the strong friend.
Yeah.
The strong friend is
Yeah.
always the one that's being burdened with all the problems, but no one actually wants to take time to actually be like, are you okay?
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
like I know I've just dashed my whole life on you, but how are you
Yeah.
feeling at the moment? Are you
Yeah.
okay? And you know what?
Yeah.
I've had that a few times, and Els will tell you, there's been a few times where I've actually been like, raw, like I've had calls come out of my whole phone, like my phone's been calling all day, and then like I finally get a moment to like have a break to myself where I can kind of refuel myself, then I'm having another expectation somewhere else and it's like people expect me to be there and it's like I
Mm.
can't always be there. I'm trying to be there for myself too. I can be there as much as I can where I can, but you know, like there's a certain level that I have to give myself, but I think it's understanding the balance because there's a live that we want to do with regards to self-love versus selfishness. There's this
Mm.
self-love culture. Yeah, we need to love ourselves, but there is a line that can become very, very selfish because
Mm.
me, myself, I've had to acknowledge this. I can, even though I can give out a lot, sometimes I can retreat so much into myself that I'm like, okay, I can't bother to reply back to this person.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. It's, I need to take accountability for my level of selfishness.
Yeah.
You know, we all have to take accountability for our own levels of selfishness and also take accountability for how we love ourselves and how we love each other. There's
Yeah.
no, you know, like it's balance. It's a mirror. It's there shouldn't be any hierarchy. You know, like it's just like where is it in the Bible where it talks about love yourself as love your neighbor as you love yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously you need to learn how to love yourself first before you love each other. But at the end of the day, this is a balanced exchange. You know, we
Yeah.
expect more love than we want to actually give. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. And just know
And
what to
support.
take on.
Mm,
Know what to take on and know when to let it go. And that even goes with taking on other people's burdens. You know, I would
mm,
continuously take on everything and I didn't quite master the art of letting it go. So you have
mm.
my pain plus someone else's pain,
Yeah.
and then their friends' pain. And I'm carrying everybody's pain. And then when it comes to
Mm,
me now, I'm like, who's here for me? Like, but I'm doing that all
mm,
can I handle?
mm,
How far will I go until I hit my breaking point?
mm.
Selfishness. Sometimes you need to be selfish as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to put yourself first.
Hmm.
With this, especially with the strong ones who are always the ear for everyone
Hmm.
and don't put themselves first. Listen, do not be afraid to say, you know what, I need today is my day, and I need to
Hmm.
this day is exclusively for me to deal with me. You know, and
Hmm.
be able you're if you know you're there for everybody else, you can't take on everybody's energy. It will
Hmm.
cripple you, you
Hmm.
know. And being imagine being sick and getting ill for burdens and stresses that ain't even yours.
Hmm. Or you
It's not
empaths
worth
out
it.
there.
It's not it's not worth it. It's not worth
Use it
it.
like
Know
a
your
badge.
limitations.
You need to
Know
learn
your
how to use it.
limitations.
Mm.
Know how far you can go. Know who you are talking to. Okay,
Mm.
not everybody that you speak to has your best interest at heart. I
Hmm.
once had a conversation with someone, and I had said to him that you need to find an outlet that isn't another person, right?
Mm.
And the reason why I said that is because some people have characteristics where they don't know how to stop talking to
Mm.
a person, find that one person, and then they don't know the levels of restraint. So every little
Mm.
thing they go to that person and they put everything onto them, and that's their everything. That's their Dalai Lama. Their everything is
Mm.
that person, right? And they haven't
Mm.
found a medium within themselves. They haven't
Mm.
found a way to help themselves. And the reason why I say find an outlet outside of another person is because if for some reason that person has to go and you end up relying on that person, you are going to plummet again
Mm.
because you
Mm.
have put so much stress on that person being there that you haven't been able to find out how you can be there for yourself. So
Mm.
there needs to be the balance. Know that no, there's no problem and no harm in having that person you go to. Like you said, you
Mm.
have that lovely person that's here that you go to and you speak to. I have people that I go to and I know I
Mm.
can go to them. But I also need to know how to be there for myself.
Mm.
Otherwise, me coming to them all the time without trying to find the balance, all I'm doing is putting a burden on their shoulders that I'm not even trying to shift myself.
Yeah, and you don't get to know your own voice because all you have is someone else speaking to you, and you haven't actually
Right.
taken time to actually like go within and be like, okay, what's really going on here? Like, what am I feeling? Like, what am I resonating with? You know?
Yeah.
And I fell into that trap earlier in my journey because I how you see me now was not how I was when I started this journey at 16.
Yeah.
It's been very, very, very intense because I was that person where I didn't trust my own voice. I didn't trust my own inner voice. I didn't trust anything. I felt like
Mm,
everyone else had better advice to give me than I could give myself. But I
yeah.
had to literally change that whole thing around. And then it got to a point where I was like, rah, do you know what? Like, my advice is actually quite good. Like, my higher self is dope. Like, let me actually hang
Mm,
out with her a bit more often and get some more of these gems. Like,
yeah,
we need to
exactly.
start actually trusting ourselves because the what you're trying to get, like it's already inside of you. If you go to someone else, all they're gonna do, like for example, me, I'm a reader. Okay, I do
Mm,
oracle readings, I do all these types of stuff. Someone who comes to me and asks me for a reading, all I'm going to be telling them is what is already it, they already know. You already know
mm,
what I'm going to be telling you. It's not going to be something foreign to you.
mm,
You've already felt it before, you've already thought it before, but you haven't trusted your own intuition. So if you
Yeah.
could trust your own intuition, and you already have a head start, you
Mm-hmm.
know, start trusting yourself. That's like one of the best advice I could give anyone. And but also understanding there's a difference between discernment and judgment as well. Because sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
can lead ourselves to a judgment side, and we need someone to kind of just bring you back in check and be like,
Yeah.
actually, I think
Yeah.
you're going a bit too left. So
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
everything can balance. Everything can balance. If something is way to this side and not enough this side, then you're in balance. You're gonna have to rejig something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
essentially, everything is balance.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
there's something. Just want to read back some of the comments. I'm gonna have to read back the comments like properly later. I'm really bad with this, guys. I'm trying.
It's all right. We done
Carlos
better
said
than last
something that
time, guys.
sorry.
I said we did better than last time
We're
to be
getting
able to
better every
go
time, man.
progression. And next time will be even better than today, honey. Every
You
day
know?
is a new day to be better. So yes, honey,
I just wanted
we
to
work
end
through.
on Carlos. Carlos just put back in a comment that kind of felt that it kind of encompasses everything. But he goes, in my experience, much of our trauma concerning death has come from past life traumas,
Yeah.
ancestral memories, and societal conditioning. We are
Mm-hmm.
spirit beings going through a temporal physical experience. We have been with the same souls over and over again throughout many lifetimes. Why grieve for someone you've been with for thousands of years and are going to see them again? The more you realize the old paradigm, the less weighed down you are, the less concern you'll have for this reality. I think that's
Mm,
the way that you phrase that is so beautiful, because
it
you're so
really is.
right. It
Yeah.
the lifetimes that we go through is just it's the same pattern that we're going through all over again. But my mum may have been my sister in a past life, or maybe a partner
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. We're just changing
Mm-hmm.
roles. All we're doing is just changing roles each lifetime. So
Yeah.
we've always got these people that these loved ones that we have a deep connection to them that's never going to be broken. It's something
Mm,
that you're always going to be able to experience over and over again in many different capacities, but it's also allowing yourself to go through the different possible experiences that you can experience within this
yeah.
whole reality, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So I think that's really beautiful,
Yeah. That
the
was
way
beautifully put.
that you said that.
Beautifully put.
But yeah, I want to give some tips on what we can what tips we can give for dealing with grief. One tip that I'd like to give, already given the one about writing, but there's also a tip where you can actually get a chair, and you can imagine your loved one in this chair, and you can just speak. Like, I think try to practice, like, writing is really really good because that's the initial stage, but really try
Yeah.
to get into a stage where you can actually verbalize these feelings, because a lot of the time our throat chakra doesn't get a lot of work because
Mm,
we don't want to speak those words out loud. But
yeah.
really get to a place where you can, set a chair out, imagine your loved one in that chair, and just speak your
Mm,
truth, like you're absorbing everything that they're saying to you, and everything that you're saying to them. So
yeah.
um really try that. And also, just I've also had a lot of interesting experiences in meditation with connecting with my loved ones. So meditation is really really good for that. Again, it's not to say that because when I say something to people, be like, okay, how do I do that? You already know. Okay, just close your eyes, imagine, let your mind just travel, take you somewhere. It's all about the power of your imagination, visualization. Like, that's one of your most powerful tools, but we've been taught not to, explore within our minds. So
Yeah.
that will
And
be
breathing
two of my
exercises
tips.
really contribute to that, you know. when you don't know how to breathe properly during your meditation, you tend to struggle to find actual calm. So
Mm,
breathing kind of helps you center yourself and keep yourself
mhm,
in the room. There's many things and different platforms to try and help with that. But yeah, definitely mastering breath, as we spoke about on our last live. Um,
mhm.
and learning that
We'll go
can
into
really
that in
help. Yes,
depth.
yes, 100%, 100%. Also writing letters, writing down a letter to the person, anything that you wanted to say. Some people choose to write them and burn them. It's their way of kind of like it being that the ashes kind of like resonating with earth to earth, kind of putting back into the earth the messages that you've said, or you can keep them. And actually, there's a beauty in keeping them and looking back at them. You see your actual journey. You might have started and going, why the hell did you leave me? How could you do that? And then you go through the next stages of, today I thought of you and I remembered this time. And then the next stage you can go, you know what, I've got better today. And it ends up becoming like a journal to that person, and you see your own growth during that process, and you see your own acceptance and your own ability to kind of move forward in the way that you're feeling. So writing letters definitely help. And like I said, counseling, whether that's bereavement counseling, obviously works with directly dealing with your connection with the bereavement or with the person who had passed away, and understanding, death within itself. And what I found more helpful for me was actually doing all round counseling on myself. So that's just talking therapy. Um, Especially for people, like we said, who don't talk a lot, is really needed, to kind of understand yourself and being open to kind of see yourself. When you go through counseling, it opens up a lot of wounds, and a lot of people actually don't choose to go down counseling, not because they don't feel like it's for them, it's because they're afraid of the kind of worms that it could open up. And it's being able to be open to the fact that sometimes we have to experience that small piece of pain in order to be able to be enlightened and be able to look at ourselves and understand self a bit more. And that's really what we're trying to do. So just finding yourself and rooting yourself back. There was a thing of also like going outside, planting your feet
Same.
on the ground,
Mm.
physically feeling the earth beneath your feet and planting yourself there, becoming back one with
Even going
nature.
by a tree. Trees are
Trees.
amazing, have amazing, amazing energetic fields. Just going and
100.
sitting by a tree, or just, I know this is a bit hippie, like going and hugging a tree. Like
Just
there is
holding
actually
hands.
some, yeah, there is actually a lot of healing properties in that. That's Mother Earth. That's Mother right there. That's a manifestation of Mother. Like really connect with that. That's that nurturing energy that we desire, that desire to just want to be held, or just, like one thing that this song's been coming to me a lot. It's from Pocahontas. What's it? I'm not even gonna try and say the words because I'm gonna mess up the words, but it's like it's the song that she she does. It's like "Bend and rock around, you will understand. Listen with your heart, you will understand," or something like that. But
Mm,
it's literally the wind is blowing and all these different types of things. It's a tree that's speaking, but what it's saying is listen with your heart. Like listen to nature. Nature speaks. Like mother speaks. Like, but we don't listen to her.
mm,
She speaks in
mm,
wind. She speaks when like even the little grass and the flowers and everything that move. Like there's messages in that. There's messages in absolutely everything. I remember the first time I tapped into that, I was just like, wow, I am so unconscious of my
mm,
reality. There's so much
mm.
beauty that is being experienced around me, but I don't take time to pay attention to it,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So, like going out in nature, like spending time with trees, listening to nature, listening to the birds. Like, how many times do you actually listen to the birds in the morning when they're singing?
Mm,
Like, I started training myself to do that recently, and I'm like, what messages are they actually trying to give us in the mornings
yeah,
to wake us up? Like, what are they saying?
yeah,
Like pay attention, listen. Like this is mindfulness. You're now being mindful of,
Mm,
you know, like you're you're
yeah.
you're now um you're now connecting to your tangible experience. We're so
Mm,
disconnected from our reality, like in its simplest of forms. Like
yeah.
just start to pay attention again.
Yeah.
So
100%. Attention
yeah,
is important. It's important.
definitely. So
Love.
yeah, is that it?
Yeah,
Oh,
I've seen someone say about counseling. I don't want to say your name wrong. Um, but you mentioned about especially as a mum not wanting to do counseling. I'm a mother, and that was one of my fears. Especially like when you feel like you're reaching the end, and the fear is, will they tell the doctors that I'm gonna want to commit suicide or something, and then try and take my child? Or do you know what I mean? These are the type of things that we kind of think about. So what I did, I didn't go with referred a referred counselor via the doctor anyway. I found a private counselor. And I also had you have to self-assess yourself really in that sense. You have to think to yourself, okay, how far am I? You know, am I actually going to break down? Is tomorrow, am I going to decide that this is the end for me? If you feel
mhm.
like you're that far gone, your only option is to go and seek a counselor, or to find a medium that centers yourself back to a place where you're able to find mental calm. And
Mm.
you need to really be honest, like we've been talking about, being honest and open. Be honest with yourself to actually be able to say to yourself, I need that help. And you know, that's a lot of the things that we've kind of been talking about today, is being able to stand in our truth.
Sorry,
And yeah,
one more
go on,
tip
babe.
that I actually discovered recently. Um, I found that a lot of my hobbies were not hobbies. They were things that I like to do that I was actually tapping, it was just work. So
Yeah,
I wasn't getting that hobby feeling, you know? Like I'm a very
yeah,
creative person. Like I could make something and be like, okay, well, now I can sell it. Now I can whatever. Like try and find something that you can do that has no attachments to anything else. So
yeah.
in my last new moon video, I spoke about I went to go get some colors and some paints and all that kind of stuff. And I actually like started doing a lot of coloring book stuff. And I found that that's
It's
actually
so
been really,
therapeutic.
really therapeutic for me. I've just
Yeah.
been like, I've got one here. I've literally just been sitting, just coloring all day. Like, and I've just been like, wow, like I feel at peace. So
Yeah.
I really encourage you to find things. Like, I'm not an
Find your
artist. I'm not
medium.
yeah,
Yeah.
find your medium. I'm not an artist. I don't draw. I don't really paint. I love to do it. It's something that I love to do as a child. So that's why I picked it back up. So I'm kind of like trying to nurture my inner child right now, you know.
Yeah.
But whatever you enjoy to do, like really pick it up, but try to make it sure it's not like anything to do with work, anything that you have to
Yeah.
feel like there's a
Not by
deadline
force.
with, or yeah, it's not gonna help you.
Yeah, it's
So
not.
like I did this in my old house, and those who know, like I lost everything in my home, but I was literally I got paints and stuff, and I was like drawing stuff and painting, but I was literally making my own wallpaper, but I was filling
Mm,
it with my own art. So it was like my own art being reflected back at me.
yeah.
And that in itself is amazing. Pay attention to your spaces. Like, what does your house look like?
Mhm.
Like, like, does it look like something that you can feel like it's your sanctuary? Like, if not, then make a sanctuary. You
Change
need to
it.
feel at
Change
home. You
it.
need to feel peaceful.
Yeah.
You need to be able to feel like you've got a sacred space within your own home. Like I've got like two little sacred space in my home, like a little, like two corners that I've created that I can just sit down and just meditate and just be like, yeah, that's my zen.
Yeah.
Create that for yourself. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are like our humble little tips. I'm
Yes, find your
hoping.
own. Don't be afraid to be creative and find what
Yeah.
works for you, and be aware of what are distractions and what actually does actually help. So sometimes we try
Mm,
to distract ourselves, and once we kind of get back into, we finish that thing, we feel like everything's gone back on our shoulders again. So, be very aware of yourself and how you feel when those processes, and just there's a beauty in going through the process, and being able to
Yes.
see.
Listen to my song Rainbow. You can find it on
Yes.
YouTube.
How do they listen to that, please?
Ah?
How can they listen to your song Rainbow?
Yeah, so you
Go
can go,
on.
you
Plug
can actually
yourself
go on my
in.
SoundCloud. It's not, that one's not on iTunes or anything. You can go to my SoundCloud, Naomi Lambs Elliott. That song
There we
talks
go.
about the process of a diamond, and it's talking about like just embracing your journey, like embracing each step of your journey. Everything has purpose. Like
Yeah.
a diamond starts from coal. It doesn't start as diamond, which means that it had to go through a whole intensive process of heat, of pressure, of all these things that we like to avoid to be able
Mm-hmm.
to create it to be something that, like
Mm-hmm.
how expensive are diamonds right now, you
Yeah.
know, and how much can you get coal for?
Yeah.
you know and then
Yeah.
it when one thing about a diamond is that when it gets to that diamond, it can refract every color on that color spectrum, and
Mm-hmm.
the diamond becomes unbreakable. You cannot break a diamond because of
Yeah.
the process it went through. So um don't what's it called, almost side eye your whole journey to get to where you are. It's all meaningful, and people resonate with people resonate with stories. What is the
Yeah.
story it took to get you to
Sure.
where you are right now, you know
Yeah.
so like really
I'm
focus
gonna
on that and
touch
don't cheat
on
yourself.
I'm going to touch on quickly before we go, of letting go, from a funeral arranger perspective, and I mean like of tangible goods. Like we sometimes, especially if the people that we've lost lived with us, we tend to hold on to everything, and not be able to physically let go of the things that we have, and actually taking those stages, not all at once. You do it within your stride and what you're comfortable with, but bit by bit
Mhm.
start letting go of the things that you have, so you're able to also see a physical process of you moving forward, and finding out the things that you can actually keep and maybe pass down. And there's a beauty in creating that kind of tradition, or that that heirloom, or whatever you decide that you want to do, and let it go.
Mhm.
If they can't take it with them, you know
Mhm.
if we hold on to everything, we actually keep ourselves trapped sometimes. So
Mhm.
bit by bit, start letting go of the things that you want to keep. Be very diplomatic about what you're going to keep, what you're going to pass down, what you're going to give to other family members, and just release it. And that's another reason why I actually started to do the memorabilia, because I felt that sometimes all people have is a shirt, and that's all they had, what was left on their backs. And you have a whole bunch
Mhm.
of family members that have nothing to hold on to, and people
Mhm.
sometimes need something that's tangible.
Yeah.
So, find whatever way you need to release, and go through that process.
Mhm.
There's healing in going through that physical process. If you need to go to that house and clear it out, it's hard, but do it. You need to
Mhm.
physically be there and go through it. If you can't do it yourself, open your mouth, speak to your family, speak to a friend and say, I need help. There's people that actually, outside of, if you don't have a support network, that can actually come with you to help you go. So
Mhm.
look through bereavement help places that actually do come and help your neighboring parties. I know St. Christopher's has a few things like that, where they come and they help you go through the home and go through those processes. So there's a lot of bereavement help places out there, and help points and talks about death around. So don't be afraid to look for them, you know, help yourself as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we will be carrying on these conversations. I've actually created a soul reconnection group. Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
sorry, my laptop dropping. Um, but this is actually a space where I've created a space specifically so we can exercise just getting it out, speaking, like being really
Mm,
throat chakra activated. Like, so we've actually set a few challenges in the group. Initially people were doing their video intro, so people were actually being able to like speak out for the first time. But we will be digging into a lot of like self-healing stuff, and it's just going to be a place where everyone's going on a journey, and you know, we're here to just support each other on their journey and not be judgmental in the journey, but maybe even share our own perspectives of our own similar journeys, or you know, different journeys that you could probably get some insight off or whatever. So that's the Soul Reconnection group. So Soul Dash Reconnection. If you can't find it on the search, you can go directly to my Soul Dash Reconnection page and you can find the group there. With regard, if you need any readings or any astrological reports, so I do natal chart readings. This helps to be able to unravel all of the hidden parts of self, you know, external and internal, and just helping to make it make sense. So this really, really helps in regards to identifying, you know, karmic traits or emotional influences or subconscious influences, or what direction is it that you need to go into in terms of your career, or where is spirit calling you? Like, all these different questions can be asked in your natal chart. So if you need a reading, whether an oracle reading or an astrological reading, or just if you want to have just a therapeutic conversation, you know, I do intuitive counseling. So I'm going to come back to that comment in a second. So you can go to my website, www.soul-reconnection.com. You can find all my information on there. And where can we find you, Kaisha?
So you can find me on Facebook at Cherished by Kai, as well as Instagram, Cherished by Kai as well. Drop me a message, DM me for any celebrant-led ceremony. So that's bespoke to you. So I can actually work with you to create a ceremony of your choosing. And also, if you want any memorabilia as well, send me a message via either platform on Instagram or Facebook. Or if you just want to have a chat, we're both accessible. Just give us a little message and we'll be able to touch base with you. All my details are on there. So whether that's a phone call or a message, I'm accessible, my darlings.
Someone's just said to post the link, so we'll definitely post the links as well. Please also go and like the YouTube page. So Soul Dash Reconnection. We've got a nice little community kind of growing up there. We're still trying to get this onto YouTube. We're trying to get off Facebook and get onto YouTube. Maybe like, you know, doing by like platform, whatever the word is that we're supposed to be using. But please go and like the YouTube page, because that's the main place that we really want to be having these types of conversations. So we'll drop, as I said, we'll drop all the links after the live and so on and so forth. But I just want to thank everyone for coming in on this live. We will go back and look back and kind of go through the comments and stuff. Just give us some time. But we'll definitely will come back and go through your questions and make sure they're all answered. But thank you for joining again. Our next live will be on
24th of June. So it will be, remember, it's fortnightly, guys. So every 2 weeks. So the next one will be on the 24th of June. So that will be part 2, won't it be?
It'll be part 2 of the reparenting through self-discovery. So we're going back into that conversation. But we also have, so I have a few lives that are scheduled. I've got loads of amazing people I'm going to be bringing onto the platform. We're going to be having a conversation with an author. We're going to be talking about how to write your story and healing through writing. We're going to be speaking to another therapist, and we're going to be talking about bridging the gap between mental health and spirituality. That's going to be a very, very interesting live. We've got people that have actually left church, and I'm not going to say who it is, but there are 2 people I'm going to be speaking to, and that's going to be really, 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 really interesting. So there's a lot of stuff that's coming, plus so much more. So make sure you're tuned in right, go to the YouTube page, make sure you're signed up to all the social medias, subscribe to all the social medias. We'll make sure that's on after this. But just want to say, have a lovely night. Thank you again for
Yeah.
joining, and we'll
Thank
see
you,
you again
guys.
soon. All right,
Take
so
care.
see you
Stay
later.
blessed,
Bye.
lovelies.
Bye.
Bye.